No. Question and answer 1. State the possible effect of lifting a load whilst facing downhill on a slope. The center of gravity moves forward and this could cause the telehandler to tip. 2. How can a qualification a car How can a qualification a card benefit a plant operator? The operator can prove his skills, have better prospects of employment and promotion. 3. According to regulations, such as lifting operations and lifting equipment regulations, LOLER 1998, name 2 requirements that must be carried out on any lifting operation. 1. The job must be done by trained, competent and authorized people. 2. The plant and equipment must be tested and certified free. The lifting operation must be planed and supervised. 4. Name 3 ways in which an operator can minimize their impact upon the environment whilst using the machine. 1. Switch off engine while the machine is not in use. 2. Check tires pressure. 3. Do not overfill while refueling, clean up any spillage. 4. Dispose any waste correctly. 5. Plan the work prior to start to maximize work efficiency. 5. Using the lifting capacity diagram for A17. 8. What is the maximum lifting capacity at maximum height? B. What is the lifting capacity with the boom angle at 45 degrees and a boom extension of 2.5 meters and C. What is the farthest distance, measured from the front tires, available to place a 1.3 tons load at a height of 4 meters? Lifting diagram will be provided by the test center and will be discussed before the test. 6. An operator has been asked to transport a load along the public highway from one site to another, for which the Road Traffic Act applies. What needs to be taken into account regarding the law? 1. The operation can only be done for a maximum distance of 1,000 yards one-off. 2. The telehandler must be road legal, insurance, taxation, lights, brakes, mirrors, etc. 7. Why should a telehandler be refueled at the end of the day? The machine should be refueled at the end of the day to prevent condensation building up in the tank as it's cooling down. 8. A. What is meant by the lifting a rated capacity of the telehandler, and B. Who determines it? A. The lifting capacity is the maximum weight the machine can lift. B. It is determined by the manufacturer. 9. During work, the engine starts to overheat. Explain the danger if someone tries to remove the radiator or expansion tank cap. Removing the radiator tank cap will cause the hot liquid inside to be released under pressure and could cause burns. No. Question and answer. 10. Using the operator's manual, state the figure for the tire pressures. Note, the operator's manual for the machine being used for the test must be available for reference by the candidate. The operator's manual will be provided by the test center and you will have to look at the index and find the tires chapter, go there and read the figure for the tire pressure. The page number must be read as well. 11. Explain all visual checks that must be carried out on all types of quick hitch attaching systems before use. 1. Check for any signs of damage to the coupler. 2. Check for cracks aware that might reduce the strength. 3. Check for oil leaks. 4. Check if attachments are the correct size and weight. 5. Check if coupler is tested and certified. 6. Check for excessive play, which will allow too much movement and might make unsafe to use it. 7. Check if all parts are fitted. 8. Check if locking pin or device is in correct position. 12. Name 4 different types or levels of disciplinary actions or sanctions that can be applied by employers and judicial bodies to operators of plant who do not comply with or follow legislation and regulations. 1. Verbal warnings. 2. Written warnings. 3. Loss of the job, dismissal. 4. Prosecution. 5. Fine. 6. Prison sentence. 13. What are the 3 actions or stages that a telehandler operator undertakes during pre-use inspections? 1. Checks done according to the manufacturer specifications. 2. Record the checks. 3. Report any defects. 14. What problems and hazards can soft ground cause to a loaded forklift? 1. Telehandler can sink and get stuck. 2. Telehandler can tip. 15. Why are forklift operators generally regarded as safety critical workers? The telehandler operators are considered safety critical workers because of the potential risk of an accident. They can cause harm to themselves or others if they do an unsafe act. No. Question and answer. 16. If the operator has loaded the machine onto a transporter trailer on behalf of a driver, what checks must be carried out before they leave the cab? 1. The machine is in the agreed position. 2. Hydraulic operated components are grounded and pressure removed. 3. Parking brake is applied and engine switched off. 4. Windows shut. 17. On stabilizer equipped machines, what must be checked before the stabilizers are lowered? Must be checked if ground is solid enough or at least suitable packed. 18. Name 3 ways that a plant operator can contribute in ensuring repeat business with the client or principal contractor. 1. Compliance with the method statements. 2. Cooperation with the workforce. 3. Safe working practices. 19. If setting up to lift and move loads in a pedestrianized area, state 3 factors that need to be taken into account. 1. Safe route for pedestrians with appropriate signage should be provided. 2. Make sure there is enough room for materials and machine movements. 3. Noise, dust and fumes should be kept to a minimum. 4. Method statement and risk assessments are in place. 20. What is the purpose of counterweights on the machine? The counterweight purpose is to maintain the machine's stability while it is affected by the reach or height of the boom. 21. Give 4 reasons that may cause the telehandler to tip over sideways. 1. Turning on a slope. 2. Excessive speed while turning. 3. Soft tires. 4. Operating with an uneven load. 5. Soft ground while lifting a load. 22. When placing onto or lifting a load from a loading out tower. A. Why must the telehandler's handbrake be on and the transmission in neutral? And B. What would the consequences be if this was not done? A. To make sure the machine doesn't move unintentionally while performing the lift. B. The machine could move, hit the tower, which could cause damage or injuries. 23. Describe 1 physical method of checking that the attachment is fully secured to the coupler prior to work. Implement rotation through complete range as close to the ground as possible. 24. What is the main purpose of the rated capacity indicator RCI or load moment indicator LMI? Warns of exceeded rated capacity. No. Question and answer. 25. State 4 checks that should be made to the forks. 1. Both forks are straight and equal. 2. Wear under the tips and heels. 3. Cracks especially at the heels. 4. End stops are in position. 5. No modifications have been done to the forks. 6. Weakened fork repairs. 26. State the purpose of the check valves located on the boom cylinder rams. Check valve helps preventing unintentional boom lowering during pressure drops or in the eventuality of a burst pipe. 27. If the load center of the load is longer, increased than stipulated for the model of telehandler, what effect does it have on the lifting capacity of the machine? Reduces the lifting capacity. 28. As a lifting machine, the telehandler must be thoroughly examined. A. What is the purpose of the examination and B. Who would carry out the examination? 1. The purpose is to check for defects on the structure which are not covered by the daily checks. 2. The examination will be carried by a competent and authorized person. 29. What 3 main duties of the Health and Safety at Work Act must employees follow? 1. Protect themselves and others who may be affected by their acts or omissions. 2. Cooperate with the employer. 3. Avoid interference, intentionally or recklessly with anything provided for safety. 30. In what situation does a hard hat not need to be worn when operating a telehandler? When the operator is in an enclosed structure that meets the FOPS regulations. 31. Before loading an uncoupled trailer, what 3 precautions must be taken? 1. Trailer is on level solid ground. 2. Trailer is secure, brake is on and wheels are chopped. 3. Trailer is capable of taking the weight. 4. Trailer is in good condition and wide enough to take the load. 5. Working area is large enough to maneuver and free from overhead obstructions. 6. There are no pedestrians or other traffic around. 32. Name 3 conditions that mirrors on the machine must be in. 1. Must be fitted. 2. Must be clean. 3. Must be adjusted. 4. Should not be damaged. No. Question and answer. 33. An operator has to travel a telehandler on the public highway, for which the Road Traffic Act applies. List 6 requirements that must be followed. 1. Driving license with correct category. 2. Insured. 3. Taxed. 4. Machine must be clean. 5. Tires, brakes, lights are meeting road legal standards. 6. Number plate. 7. Machine must be set in 2-wheel steer. 8. Forks set in travel position. 9. Mirrors set and clean. 34. The operator has to use a new type of telehandler that they are unfamiliar with. What the regulations, i.e. PUWER 98, and other guidance require the operator to have? The operator is required to have the correct instruction, training and up-to-date information on that particular machine. 35. A. What is meant by the load center, and B. Why must it be known for each lift? A. The load center is the distance between the heels of the forks and the center of the load. Otherwise said, the point of balance. B. It must be known to determine if the load can be lifted at the given height and reach. 36. Give 3 reasons why it is important that a telehandler is not leaning sideways before attempting to lift or place a load. 1. The load could fall. 2. The machine could tip sideways. 3. Forks may not enter in the pallet correctly. 37. Name 4 factors to consider and know before picking up a load. 1. Load center. 2. Weight. 3. Destination. 4. Wet or dry. 5. Is it liquid? 38. Name 6 possible proximity hazards that may be encountered on site when traveling with a load. 1. Workforce. 2. Ground condition. 3. Trenches or edges. 4. Visibility. 5. Slopes. 6. Other plants. 7. Overhead obstructions. No. Question and answer. 39. Give 4 reasons that may cause the machine to tip forwards. 1. Reach is too long. 2. The load is too heavy. 3. Failure to deploy stabilizers. 4. Lifting or driving on slopes. 5. Soft ground. 40. What is the meaning of this hand signal being demonstrated by the tester? The tester will show you a hand signal which you will have to identify. 41. Using the operator's manual, state the cold starting procedure for the machine. Note, the operator's manual for the machine being used for the test must be available for reference by the candidate. Find the cold start procedure in the index, go to the page and read the paragraph that describes the cold start procedure. Page number must be read as well. 42. A. What is the purpose of a method statement, and B. What is required of the operator? A method statement describes how the work will be done safely and efficiently. B. The operator must be compliant with the method statement. 43. The operator has been asked to drive the machine onto a transporter, trailer. A. Who is responsible for the loading operations, and B. State 4 actions to be considered by the operator before loading commences. A. The transporter driver is responsible for the loading operation. B. 1. A level area with sufficient room to maneuver should be selected. 2. Check for overhead obstructions. 3. The machine should be clean. 4. The transporter should be suitable and in good condition. 5. The ramps should be adjusted to fit the machine. 6. The operator's manual should be consulted to find the loading procedure. 7. The area should be clear of people and other plant. 44. A. Name 3 purposes of the raised lugs on tires, and B. What can happen to a telehandler if the lugs are severely worn? A. 1. Providing help when braking. 2. Providing adherence on soft ground. 3. Assisting when steering. B. Worn or bald tires can cause skidding or sliding, making steering more difficult and the tire more vulnerable to punctures. 45. Before picking up a load, why should the forks be equally spaced or distanced on the carriage? The forks should be equally spaced to provide optimum support of the load, and the load weight is central on the carriage and not on one side, which can cause instability on the machine. No. Question and answer. 46. List 6 typical subject areas that should be covered in a site induction. 1. First aid. 2. Escape routes. 3. Lifting operations. 4. Working at heights. 5. Site layout and welfare facilities. 6. Working in confined spaces. 7. Method statements. 47. When parking the machine at the end of the shift, name 3 places where the machine should not be parked. 1. Do not park in front of entrances or exits. 2. Do not park on soft ground. 3. Do not park on pedestrian routes. 4. Do not park on slopes. 5. Do not park close to trenches or stockpiles. 48. If checking the oil level using a dipstick, why must gloves be worn? Gloves must be worn to avoid oil contact with the skin, which can cause skin problems. 49. What is the definition of, or how can a hazard be described? A hazard is anything that can cause harm to people, property or environment. 50. How is it possible that forklifts can still tip over, even when traveling on gentle gradients, are not overloaded and not being driven at excessive speed? It is possible that more factors like speed, load, weight and type can contribute collectively to determine the forklift to tip. Also, incorrect tire pressure or soft ground can make the forklift to tip over. It can be a factors to add up. 51. What are the possible outcomes of facing prosecution for not complying with legislation and regulations? If facing prosecution at the court hearing, there are 2 possible outcomes. 1. You can prove that you fulfilled the legal requirements and you are probably going to be found not guilty. 2. You are found guilty and you face a prison sentence or a substantial fine. 52. What determines the minimum distances that any part of plant and machinery has to be kept from overhead electricity lines, and explain why a distance should be kept? 1. The amount of voltage that runs through the electricity lines and the support used for the electricity lines, wooden poles or metal poles. 2. Because the electricity can arch or jump gaps. 53. After placing a load, who is responsible for ensuring the load is safe? The plant operator is responsible. No. Question and answer. 54. What does the Health and Safety at Work Act require employers to do with regards specifically to plant? The employer must ensure the plant is safe and maintained. 55. Before leaving the cab for a rest break, after parking and switching off the machine, what final action must be carried out? Machine must be isolated, windows closed, door closed and locked. 56. Which part of the forklift is the load center usually measured from? From the vertical part of the forks. 57. When working in a confined area or space, name 3 dangers that can be present. 1. Fumes. 2. Noise. 3. Limited visibility. 4. Workforce. 58. Name 2 factors that determine the weight of a load. 1. Size. 2. Density. 3. Wet or dry. 4. Shape. 59. What is the purpose of a risk assessment? The purpose of a risk assessment is to identify and place control measures on hazards. 60. Why must the seat belt be worn even with the cab door closed? Wearing the seat belt will keep the operator stable in the seat in the eventuality of a rollover. 61. Before traveling with a physically large load, name 5 factors that must be taken into account by the operator before moving. 1. Is the operation authorized? 2. Is the machine correctly configured? 3. Are the weather conditions suitable? 4. Is the access route clear? 5. Is it clear of overhead hazards? 6. Ground conditions favorable. 7. Do you need the help of a banksman? 62. A. What is the minimum distance allowed near open trenches when traveling with a telehandler? B. Explain why. A. Greater than the trench depth. B. Getting too close to a trench can cause it to collapse. 63. Where should the operator's manual be kept and why? The operator's manual should be kept inside the machine in a place where the operator has easy access. No. Question and answer 64. Apart from the operator, who else may need to use the machine's operator's manual? Maintenance staff, supervisors and transporter drivers. 65. If the telehandler is being traveled or working on a public highway, including adjacent pavement and verges, the Road Traffic Act applies. A. What type of license and which classes should the operator hold? And B. What is the minimum age allowed? A. The operator should have full UK Category B driving license. B. 1. Minimum 18 years old if machine is under 7.5 tons. 2. Minimum 21 years old if the machine is over 7.5 tons. 66. What is the purpose of a roll or ROPS frame? The purpose of ROPS is to provide protection in the eventuality of a rollover with the machine. 67. Name 4 ways that wet weather can affect telehandler operations. 1. The load weight can increase. 2. Ground will soften. 3. Visibility is reduced. 4. Traction and grip is reduced. 68. When working in a confined area or space. A. What danger can be present with regards to the counterweight of the machine? B. When should measures be taken? And C. What measures should be implemented? A. Counterweights can get close to structures, creating a hazard and increasing the risk of damage or harm to workforce. B. Ensure there is a minimum 600 mm space between the machine and obstacles. If the distance cannot be maintained, then the access in the area should be closed. C. Fences should be placed surrounding the area with appropriate signage. 69. On a semi-automatic quick hitch bucket attaching system. A. What is the purpose of the safety pin? And B. What checks must be made to the pin before use? A. The purpose of the safety pin is to prevent the unclasp of the latch system. B. Should be checked if it is in the locked position and correct place, also for wear, cracks and damage. 70. If placing a variety of loads onto a rigid, flatbed transporter, where should the heaviest loads be placed? The heaviest load should be placed over the rear axles. 71. What would happen if the steering mode of crab steer is selected and the steering wheel rotated clockwise whilst traveling? The machine would move forward and to the right in the same time. 72. How can high wind speeds affect telehandler operations? High boom stretch a large load attracts wind resistance and causes instability.